masterfully set me up for a segue, and I dropped the ball when you talked about the leads that you generate. And that would be the perfect segue to get into the marketing aspect, especially for builders right now that are struggling. How do they generate leads?
You know, it's interesting. Over the last 12, 15 years, everyone believes that you're going to generate qualified leads only through digital marketing, through search engine optimization. And so many people are missing the opportunity to stand out. So many people have eliminated print advertising. People still read newspapers and magazines. People still read other periodicals. And it's very, very interesting. I'm just going to share some quick thoughts for you. But the easiest qualified lead you already have as a builder working with buyers. You already have a stable of individuals that have purchased. One of the misnomers or disappointing factors in our industry is that after you close a buyer, you pray that they never come back to you for customer service.
Welcome to the Builder Straight Talk podcast with your host, Michael Krisa. Get the unfiltered truth from the trenches of construction, real estate, and funding. This episode is made possible by our sponsor, Sound Capital, funding built for builders.
Robert, my friend, as they would say in the movies, this is take two because my internet went for a deep dive, but we're back. So with the grace of the gods, let's run forward and see how far we can get. So for the people at home that don't know who S. Robert August is, you're in for a big treat because this man, as the cliche goes, has done it all, been there everywhere, and I'm really honored to have him as a guest today. So to find out more about what Robert has done, his whole illustrious career, I'm going to put everything in the show notes. The focus on the call is to tap into that encyclopedic brain of yours, Robert, so we can focus on builders and help them get successful in this market. So let's pretend, my friend, that we're on the elevator and you're going to make your elevator speech about why our builders should take you seriously and listen to what you have to say.
Michael, thank you very, very much for the thoughtful, considerate, and kind introduction. It's a blessing to have met you and to be working with you today. My career spans over 53 years in the construction industry. I've been very, very fortunate to enter the industry with the largest home building company in the United States and North America, and progress from that perspective to start working with smaller builder developer in the Philadelphia market. Both jobs were there. And I had the fortune of learning the business almost backwards in the sense of the first job that I had. I spent 2 years in customer service, learning the good, the bad, and the ugly. And in essence, the only reason I was ever called in the customer service department is when there was a problem. So as a problem solver, you start to learn how to enhance and improve the builder and consumer experience. And as a direct result, I've been able to parlay that experience while working with builders and developers locally, initially in the Philadelphia market, and expanding nationwide. I had the opportunity to move to Denver, Colorado a number of years later, and work in a blue-collar market and create the first upscale custom home building community, and learn very, very quickly how to overcome odds and deliver product in an escalating interest market where mortgage interest grew to 16% and construction loans were 21%. And continued growing from that perspective. In that community alone, our team was able to beat the pro forma by 400%. We figured out the key secret sauce, if you will, in working with trade associations directly, getting involved in home builder association, the boards of realtors, chambers of commerce, and probably most importantly, economic development councils. And when you spoke earlier in our warm-up, one of the key things that we were able to do is learn how to use other people's money through these organizations to help promote the real estate that we were marketing and selling. And getting involved with our discussion today in preparing for it, I'd like to step into that point of interest because what's so important is that by meeting the business community within the community of each of the listeners that we have today, it's critically important to get involved in one trade association first. And many of us are in the pure building development industry. And I would encourage you to take a strong position in your home builders association. You can make an immediate difference in meeting the members. And I'll tell you very quickly, what's so funny is that, you think that your buyer is that consumer waiting to be met, when all of those members of your local home builders association, if you have 500 members in the major markets throughout North America, you have a situation where you could have 500 companies, and those companies on average could have 10 employees. So, I mean, in quick math, and that's 5,000 employees. And sociologists teach us, Michael, that every time we meet one person, we're actually meeting 400. So if you multiply 400 times 5,000, what's the number? Let's call it 200,000 for quick math. And in those 200,000, just getting to know those people in the building industry and their sphere of influence, you have a multitude of potential buyers within those 200. And if you just marketed directly to your builder public, you're within your own trade association, it's ad infinitum as to how many sales that you can really generate.
What
And
was
if
that
you're,
factor again?
it's a 400 to 1.
400 to
So,
1. Okay, so just to set a number here, you single-handedly have brought in 5,000 members to the National Association. So let's do the math on that. 400 times 5,000. This is probably why you're one of the most influential people in real estate. You probably know half the planet.
well, you're very kind. I'm learning. And the one thing I'll share with you, you can have all the experience in the world. Yet what's so fascinating about our business, it changes every single day. If you step away for 2 weeks, if you step away for a sabbatical of 6 months, you've got to come back and re-meet and reintroduce yourself to the industry. The industry can pass us by very, very quickly. So you need, each of you that are listening today, Michael's a tremendous instrument in education. And by following Michael's podcasts, you're going to be able to stay abreast of changing opportunities to enhance your marketplace and make a difference within your own company immediately. So the key here in this point of interest is that you have to keep studying the market and never assume that you're established. We're only as good as the last day that we've been in business. And so it's critically important to keep meeting people who can increase your sphere of influence within the marketplace. The one thing that I want to create an exclamation point, every meeting that you have, and this went along with my first meeting with Michael, and asking Michael for referrals right away. You are earning the right to ask for referrals every time you meet someone. Every conversation that you have, you need to ask for referrals. You need to ask for qualified leads that will help you meet more prospects who will become your buyers and not your competition.
You prompted two questions there, Robert. One is, can you get to a point where you've got, it almost sounds silly to say this out loud, you have too many contacts? Because how do you maintain the relationship so it does feel sincere and genuine, that these people don't become strangers? And that being said, when you ask for the referral, my philosophy is I always lead with the giving hand. I've got to give you something first, almost like priming the well. I can't demand water unless I put water into the well first to prime it. How do you feel about that philosophy? How do you maintain the relationship? And do you have to earn the right to be able to ask for a referral?
You have to earn the right to ask for a referral. And you do that from an authentic, genuine scenario. I was always taught growing up, and to this day, I've continued to learn that everyone that you meet has so much to offer. And it's a question of determining who, what, where, why, when, and how about those individuals with whom you meet. It's not about Robert August. It's not about me. Every conversation that I have, it's about, the other party, with whom I'm addressing. And the more that I can learn about that other party, the more that I can learn how to help that other party. And our industry is an industry of sharing. It takes 300,000 parts to build one home. It takes, depending upon the market that you're in, anywhere between 75 and 125 companies today to build a home. So you have to be open to meeting, to greeting, to learning about the strengths and the core values of the companies with whom you're working. And when you build the trust and ensure that those companies are getting paid correctly and on time, and that you're meeting the needs of their questions immediately and not leaving them stranded as a drywaller or an electrician, they're going to respond to you in kind. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned from a builder many, many years ago that was building 35 to 65 semi-custom homes a year. And he was one of the most competitive builders to the nationals that were participating in our market. And I asked Tony Barshevsky of A&M Custom Homes over 40 years ago, you're an amazing builder. You do what you say you're going to do, and yet you compete head to head with the nationals on pricing in every aspect. How do you do it? And he just smiled at me in his Michigan tone and shared very, very quickly, I take care of my subcontractors. I take care of all the companies with whom I work. And every 2 weeks on a Friday, they know that they can come in and get a check. And I take care of I don't make up reasons. I make sure that everybody gets paid on time. And therefore I can compete with any national builder, with any builder locally or regionally, because I've developed relationships, not necessarily friendships, but respect and trust, and have developed a rapport with these individuals. And the three pillars, frankly, with the builders that we represent and have represented, whether it's a marketing opportunity or a direct sale opportunity as well through our real estate companies that we've created over the years. It's all about those three pillars, Michael: building respect, trust, and developing an outstanding rapport.
It's interesting you said reading between the lines here, because you're seeding the ground with all these really great nuggets. The one is he does what he says he's going to do, right? So it's like writing a check. If I'm going to write that check, my reputation's on the line. I better make sure that that thing's going to cash. The other thing that I find very interesting about the relationships, it's I wish I could say it was my line, but it's actually Jordan Peterson. He said, pretend that everybody you meet knows something that you don't. And then you're on a quest to find out that one thing that everybody knows.
I'm going to share another quote with you that is truly my favorite quote that can ring excitement through you for the rest of your career. Somerset Maugham was not a second baseman for the old St. Louis Browns. Somerset Maugham was an amazing author. And a nugget that I've extrapolated from my readings: mediocre people are always at their best. Mediocre people are always at their best. Therefore, the rule is to surround yourself with people who are smarter, brighter, more intelligent, and more successful than you are. And the more that you can learn with and from these individuals, especially in the building and construction industry, it's not about how many degrees you have. It's about how good you are as an individual, how you treat other people. We have an amazing process that I shared with you in a previous conversation last week with another outstanding marketeer, Gary Elwood from Sound Capital. And what I shared is that we put together a process of finding the very best builders to work with in each community that we have ever created. And along the way, we created approximately a 10-page application to vet builders and ensure that we are going to work with the very best, not the folks that have the most money, not the folks that may have the most awards, the folks that are the most genuine, authentic, and have tremendous customer service communication skills and deliver on a promise of excellence. So in essence, as I shared with you and Gary in our previous meeting, you have to surround yourself with the best builders. You can do 158 things correctly. If you do one thing wrong, nobody remembers the 158 that you did right. So and there's always going to be an issue here or there, but we're very, very quick. Another key point to share is that problems don't take care of themselves. It's not like a little cut that you have on your hand that within a couple of days is completely gone, and cured. We find that when there's a customer service issue, we want to address it immediately. And one of the things that I did learn in customer service is that maybe you can't handle a situation immediately in the sense of creating a solution, but you can learn to understand. I was fortunate to read a number of books while my wife was going through graduate school Penny became one of the first psychiatric art therapists in North America many years ago. And I would go to meetings, dinners and networking meetings with her fellow students. And I was just completely out of pocket. So I started reading the books and reading the scholastic notes that Penny would take. And I learned that probably the two most important words in business are I understand. I understand. Doesn't mean that you agree. It doesn't mean that you disagree. It means that you're paying attention. We all need that. And when you are addressing a customer service issue and somebody is relatively hyper, they're difficult to communicate with, you want to earn the knowledge of what is really troubling them and making copious notes and letting them know that you're paying attention. And at the same time, in most instances, when somebody's very, very upset, it's not beneficial to try to resolve the problem then. What I try to do, and this has worked for me dramatically, is say, your concerns are understandable, and I'd like to research the information and give you a call back within 2 hours. If it's 2:00 and we're having this conversation, I'll say, I will call you at approximately 4:00 this afternoon and hopefully begin to provide you with remedies and solutions to your current situation.
Sorry, I just wanted to jump in there. When we're talking about customer service here, is it a mistake to believe that the customer is always right?
I think it's not a mistake. I think what we have to become are researchers. We need to be called problem solvers. And in essence, what may be a very minor issue to a consumer, to me, maybe a catastrophic issue to a consumer. And when you're involved with customer service, and as I shared, the first 2 years of my career were in customer service. Nobody called because they were happy campers. Everyone called with complaints. And we were dealing in those days with supply chain disruption on a different facet. There was a building boom going on worldwide in 74, 75, et cetera. And we learned, 72, 73, and 74. And we learned that it wasn't like we have today. The manufacturers were earning 20 to 30% more shipping abroad because there were shortages and damages elsewhere in the world. And they were getting paid 20 to 30% FOB before they were getting paid before the product was ever delivered to the customer. So why would they take care of the builders and developers in the United States when they could enhance their profits elsewhere? And I learned how to overcome supply chain disruption. Yet at the same time, in learning, each of the customer's needs are very, very important to them. So I would share with you, when you do get a complaint, make sure that it's 100% of the entire complaint. And there may be 4 or 5 or 6 concerns, and all of a sudden you're trying to answer one. Before you answer any of the concerns, make sure that you have 100% of all of their concerns, because what you may be answering is more minor and still having issues, and it helps you to understand the total picture than a part of the picture. So once we understand all of the concerns or objections that a consumer is sharing with us, whether it's a direct builder or a consumer, a home buyer, it gives us the opportunity to be more of a sleuth and earn the right to come back and provide answers and solutions that will benefit all parties.
Yeah. I think you just said something there about being a sleuth, that if you're really savvy about the customer service experience, when you do get a complaint or run into difficulty, that gives you the opportunity to shine, because the consumer gets to see what you're really made of, what you're going to do to solve that problem. But two, it also reveals that there may be something wrong with the delivery of your product, the interpretation of what it is that you're selling. So it becomes a learning experience. I'm kind of thinking, putting this in a builder's context, maybe to mitigate the number of calls that they get, it starts off with setting the expectation. So what is it exactly when I sit down with my prospective home buyer, here's what we're going to deliver. Let me share with you how the process unfolds, how we actually build the house. And then the thing that really rang the bell, and builders hate this, is when they have to do change orders. And it could be just a miscommunication that the buyer thinks, okay, we're going to have a 2-piece or whatever, 3-piece bathroom here. Oh, and by the way, we want to move something over here. And the builder may have explained at the beginning, well, here's the plan. And if we vary it, there's going to be complications because we may have to move a beam, we may have to move a subwall. There's all these different things. So you don't really see the domino effect of things that are going to happen as a result. So I'm thinking you set the stage by anticipating what objections are going to be and handle those at the beginning. Would that make sense?
Without question. And that's what we have been doing since we emanated into a direct for sale organization as well as a marketing company. We were founded in 1983. It's a very, very interesting point. I began with a consulting practice and then opened up a real estate corporation 10 months later. And by doing that, I set the stage. Of course, the benefit was that I had sold a tremendous amount of real estate previously for other companies. And then I began selling real estate for our companies and representing builders. Just in the front range and the mountains of Colorado, we've represented over 750 home builders and developers for sale of their property. And I think that the key point stepping back is that, yes, you have to set the expectations up front. I don't want to tell you that I am perfect. I know that we're not negligent. I know that we do make mistakes as a company, yet we're very quick to remediate and mitigate any concerns because we know that we don't want the door open for the buyers to think, whether it's a builder or consumer, to think that we are, in essence, a faulty company. What I'm proud to say is that most companies that we start a community with, we finish. And it's setting those expectations up front, as you shared, Michael, whether directly with a builder and developer that we represent or the consumers that come in to either lease or purchase homes from us. And I think that, the key in setting expectations goes along with two of my favorite words or a group of words. You may recall or you may remember. You may recall or you may remember when we first met, or 2 weeks later when we had a discussion about change orders. So in essence, what we're doing is we're putting the onus back on the consumer or that builder and letting them know that we've had this discussion previously. Because the home building scenario is very, very different from commercial. Commercial building is very easy by comparison. And why? Because you're not building for a consumer. You're building direct, and there's no consumer interchange whatsoever until you finish the product completely. So you're not being interfered with change orders. The four most expensive words in remodeling or new construction are while we're at it. And in essence, a consumer could take a trip and stay at a wonderful new hotel, and we'll call it a Marriott, and they love the bathroom, all of the fixtures, the hardware, the water closet, the shower, et cetera, et cetera. And they come back and the product that you've been delivering or prepared for them is a very good product. But now they want to make a change. And addressing your points of interest, we enhance changes more than you can imagine. And I can take you back historically. In the first stick-built community that I had the opportunity to market and sell, we were struggling. And almost to the day that we opened our model homes, some of them called sample homes back east, the day that we opened up our model home was almost to the day that Bethlehem Steel declared bankruptcy in the market that we were working in. One of the biggest national and international companies immediately laid off 25,000 employees and affected all the outsourced companies within the trading area of Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton. And here we opened almost to the day of the holiday weekend of Thanksgiving. For the next 6 weeks, I was able to beat the pro forma with our sales team and generate 37 sales in a declining market and never look back. But what I had learned in the first 9 months in preparing the homes for sale and delivery when we could generate sales, the buyers liked our product. They liked the elevations. They liked the floor plans. but they wanted to make changes. And the owners were very hesitant to make any changes. They were originally commercial builders. And one day I walked in with a large check and an agreement. And the owner that I worked for, brilliant, brilliant gentleman. There were three builders that I worked for, three partners. And one of them was relatively hyper and would yell at me 5-7 times a day. And I had to learn to bark back, in order to gain his respect and trust. We had a great relationship. We accomplished what nobody ever anticipated. We eventually became the number one builder within the trading area. And in doing so, I handed this agreement to the builder, and he started screaming at me. And he looked at the agreement. He said, "We don't do change orders." And I pulled out a check, a much larger check than we were taking for deposits. He looked at the check. He looked at the agreement. He looked at the change orders. And he said, he called me Bobby. He said, "Bobby, I want you to know now we do change orders." I figured out how to do the change order process almost 50 years ago. And we made more money, Michael, on change orders and home site premiums than we did on the base price of the home. It was like selling, for every one home that we sold, it was like selling two homes. So at the end of the overall community project, the builder developer sold, instead of 256 homes, sold 512 homes.
Wow.
If you can imagine. And the key is that every time we made a change order, or a group of change orders, depending upon the time it would take us to complete those within the construction process, we extended the time period for the closing. So we weren't trying to build everything within the originally scheduled time. And as a direct result, we could work with the buyers and also integrate these change orders into their mortgages. Another key strategy, if there was something that was very strange that they wanted, for example, if they wanted red carpet, we received a much bigger down payment for the red carpet, because if something happened to that consumer and that consumer or that family was not able to close on a townhome or single family home with us, we knew that we would have to take it back to market. So if we would charge much more money for a change order that was not a popular change order. And as a result, the more money that we received up front, also from the buyers on change orders, gave us the opportunity to close with those customers on time, because they were investing in our community. The other thing that we were able to do is upgrade the mortgage amount. And what we did that was different than what is done in so many times today, we qualified the buyers. Our sales team qualified the buyers. We knew what they could afford. And there was a paradigm shift in the early 90s in North America where consumers were told, you go determine what you want in the form of a mortgage or in the form of payment, a monthly payment, as well as a payment for your home, and then come back and tell us. Our company never stopped qualifying buyers. We know everything about those buyers because we take the initiative to be in the first meeting with the bank or the mortgage company and remain in every meeting with them in order to learn what our buyers can afford and how to keep them on track, and almost be like an older brother or an older sister or mother or father or grandfather, and ensuring that they get to the closing table on time. And they don't go out and buy a truck or a car or take a trip that's going to put them in harm's way with their mortgage. So we're very, very keen on getting to the closing table. And as a result, we've had a tremendous amount of success. And here we are speaking. And these are fundamental points, but I'd like to spend some time, if you have the opportunity, to discuss ways for the consumer, for the builders and developers that are listening, to generate more qualified leads.
Can I just put a pin on that for a second there, Robert? I want to go back over the change orders, because you've taken something for the average builder, which is just a point of contention, and you've actually turned it into a profit center. So if I were to say, sum this up in 4 or 5 elegant points, what would be the secret to actually profiting from change orders?
The secret is to know the strengths of the manufacturers, the vendors, the subcontractors or trades, and the service companies you're working with within a given organization. One of the problems that most builders have if they get locked into any one of these segments and they don't want to make change. And this is an industry, where you have to make change, where you may think that as a direct result of working with people for many years, that they're always going to be true to form. Well, a lot of these people don't have control over their own destiny. And as a result, one of the key points that we have always instilled in our company and also with the builders that we represent, anticipate change, expect change. And if you embrace it, you can move on a dime. If you don't embrace it, you're going to delay the completion of the home. So that's critical to understand your business network. One, understand their capabilities, understand their strengths, understand their weaknesses. And in essence, we would encourage everybody to do a SWOT analysis with every corporation before they begin working with them. And then also come back and analyze those companies and the performance of those companies, not every 6 months or a year, but on a monthly basis. SWOT analysis, for those of you who are not accustomed to using it, it's an analysis or an evaluation of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And some companies, frankly, that I mentioned, the manufacturers, vendors, trade service companies, Michael, they don't want to make changes. They want to, this is what we're going to do for you. This is how we're going to do it for you. And we're not flexible. The reason that we're able to give you this price is that, we don't make changes. And therefore, those companies we do not work with. I mean, we remain friends, business associates, but we will not work with them. Our industry is an industry of flexibility and change. There are shortages, damages, and missed shipments in every building that's built in the world. And how do you overcome them? Well, you have to be quick and nimble. So number one, you have to vet your manufacturer's trade service company. Number two, you have to be quick and nimble and be able to call, phone, meet other companies that have products and services that will meet your specific needs. The third step, Michael, is one where you have to have a process, a template in which you can sit down with the buyers and share with them the art of the change order. And it's really critical not to say, oh, yeah, we can do anything. But when you spoke earlier, there's a domino effect. If you want to move a wall structurally, you need to visit with an engineer. You may have to meet with the architect again. Then you meet with the electrician, the plumbing company, the HVAC company, the drywaller, the painter. I mean, so you could have 7 or 8 companies involved in one change order. And it's important to explain that in the very, very beginning when you're setting those expectations. So the key there is having this template and being able to review that when you're setting expectations so that the buyer understands that they're not locked in. One of the other things that we have done, another aspect, is the financial point. And the financial point can be as much as we want 100% of all change orders after the agreement up front, or we want 45 or 50%, of the money, and we'll take the rest at closing. Though we can put 100% of your change order into the mortgage, and we'll have to upgrade the mortgage and create an addendum with the mortgage company in order to facilitate the change orders. Then, of course, there will be a down payment. If your loan is you're putting 20% down and carrying back 80%, if those change orders are $10,000, you would need another $2,000 deposit on a 20% down payment. So each of these things are important. So the fourth point is the financial aspect. The fifth point for me is always reviewing the expectation, setting the premise of the 4 points that we just discussed, and maintaining the agreement, finalizing that agreement, that additional addendum, and there may be an exhibit prior to the agreement, and integrating that into the total process, and then ensuring with the management team that all these change orders are getting integrated into the operations department so that mistakes do not occur. And in that fifth point, the salespeople always take responsibility for ensuring a walkthrough of the home to make sure that the operations team completed the change orders correctly before the buyer could ever see them. And that way you're maintaining 100% control. Most companies that we have seen over the last 25 years, they don't want the salespeople doing anything other than sales, but making sure that the operations department completes the home on time, on budget, as has been described within the agreement. It is the responsibility, in my opinion, of the salespeople in order to facilitate the complete customer service process. And if they do that, you have less problems and you make more money while increasing your cash flow.
This almost takes us right back to the beginning when we started this conversation, Robert, about the strength of the relationships that you build. Because when you said we need to refinance or we're going to put the change order into the mortgage, that means you have to have a really strong relationship with your lender that you can make those calls. And it's almost like they're anticipating that that could happen, right? So it's akin to a pilot before they take off. They don't just throttle it and point north. They have a checklist of things that they have to go through. And once they've gone through every item on the checklist, even if they have 100 hours or 5,000 hours, they still go through that checklist to make sure that they get it right each time. Robert, I want to bring it back to, you talked about a template. Is that something I can politely hold your feet to the fire? Is that a template that you can share that we could use as a PDF, perhaps?
It's been modified over the years, and I'd be happy to provide you with some basic points. But it's a simple, I would share with you, all of your builders have it. All of your builders have the template. It's nothing that's finite and intellectual property. You basically go back to your takeoff sheets and you understand all of the material that's being offered. And then at the end, you also have an area for change orders so that in your takeoff, or some builders that we've worked with over the years, if they have, instead of doing it at the very end, they may have a supplement within each of the mechanicals. So and I'm just using the mechanicals as an example. Somebody has 4 cans of light as standard in a powder room, and a consumer wants to put in more electrical outlets so that powder room could become a separate first floor bathroom. So that if there are guests that are coming over, they want to adapt that powder room into a small bathroom with a shower and, of course, a water closet and a lavatory. And there could be some changes that would take place on a plumbing, heating, and electrical perspective. You can put all of those change orders in those segments within the takeoff sheet where you have those additional points of change, or you can do it at the end, or both. But frankly, it's working within your takeoff sheets because you know that you have to make a change to the material that you're integrating into that specific area of the home or the office building.
How do you tie in depending on the complexity of the changes, you mentioned extending the closing date. Is that part of your template as well?
Yes, it's within the body of the agreement. So every time, if we're increasing appliances in a kitchen, for example, the more expensive the home, sometimes the buyers will want 2 dishwashers instead of 1. And how do you reconfigure the cabinetry, the integration of the dishwasher, the additional plumbing? You may have to have additional electricity. And how do you go about doing that? So in essence, the other thing that may have happened is that the cabinets were already purchased. And then you sit with the customer and the customer has these extra cabinets. What we try to do is continue to look for other ways that we can use the products because there is virtually not going to be that much of a credit to restock and work with a supplier to take the product back. It's almost a negative. So the other thing that we do is constantly think of the change orders that can be made to an existing home while we're defining and designing it. And so a lot of times what we've been able to do is take the cabinets in the kitchen where there might be an overage now because of the change of appliances, more a state-of-the-art cooktop or oven, along with a dishwasher, whatever. And let's say that we have several cabinets that are remaining. We'll turn to the customer and say, what would you like to integrate these cabinets into a closet? to the primary bedroom closet or into a secondary closet? Or would you like to finish an area in your lower level, your basement area, and use these cabinets accordingly? So, but we're doing this all the time by understanding the economics of the buyer. We never, ever, ever, ever oversell a buyer. We will never do that because at the end of the day, we've watched our competition do that, and the customers become extremely negative and they lose face with the builder. They lose face in working with the builder. And as a direct result, no referrals will ever come back to that builder again.
We've kind of implied this when we were talking about customer service, but really didn't come out and proclaim it. And you and I have this ingrained in the fleshy tablets of my heart. People don't remember what you say, but they remember how you made them feel. And so to this point about overselling a customer, they'll remember the sales push, they'll remember the commission breath, and that's the feeling that they're going to get when they walk away with this home that they built. So it's almost like a regret. So Robert, I think you're spot on when you say we don't oversell them, we give them what they want. Maybe you show options, obviously, but you're never going to push the sale or try to increase it just to pad your nest, so to speak.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, you might make as a salesperson another several $1,000s on a commission, or the builder might make $10,000 on those change orders as a profit, but you lose all the referral base from a happy customer. And it's really interesting. We have a saying that there's no such thing as a confidentiality statement in the construction industry. Everybody talks. What are you going to do? Penalize a buyer because they went and they said something? The key that I want to share that point is we treat every buyer as much with parity as we possibly can. We take every consideration into understanding, yet at the same time, we really do a great job of maintaining parity. I'll share a story.
You said there's no secrets. It just made me think the secret's only as good as the last person you told.
Absolutely. And the other thing, I mean, that we discussed in a meeting, I believe there's a saying by Mark Twain, something to the effect, you never have to worry about lying when you're always telling the truth. And I think that, in essence, we try to stay as true to the presentation with each builder that we represent. In a custom area within a community, we may represent 6, 15 builders, 20 builders within a community, depending upon the sales and absorption rate within that community. We know that the same way that you meet people, we're all not exactly the same. We all have different capabilities and interests and needs and wants. And as a direct result, our salespeople are lay psychologists and sociologists. We teach them a lot about demographics and psychiatric or psychological behavior. We teach them certainly about the products that they're selling so that they can be very conversant. We teach them about finance. We don't assume that they know everything. It's what makes our salespeople so much better and have increased their ability to sell more than the competition is that we never stop training. And we also teach them how to generate qualified leads within the ability to create a network where they may never have had that capability before. And as a result, we're able to generate more qualified leads because the more you ask, the more you often get. And it really pays dividends. Our real estate for sale program is unique. And what we're proud to say is that so many people have graduated from us into better positions throughout the United States. I think one eventually moved into Canada, but for the most part, we do treasure every employee that we have ever had working with us.
You masterfully set me up for a segue, and I dropped the ball when you talked about the leads that you generate. And that would be the perfect segue to get into the marketing aspect, especially for builders right now that are struggling. How do they generate leads?
It's interesting. Over the last 12, 15 years, everyone believes that you're going to generate qualified leads only through digital marketing, through search engine optimization. And so many people are missing the opportunity to stand out. So many people have eliminated print advertising. People still read newspapers and magazines. People still read other periodicals. And it's very, very interesting. I'm just going to share some quick thoughts for you. But the easiest qualified lead that you already have as a builder working with buyers, you already have a stable of individuals that have purchased you. One of the misnomers or disappointing factors in our industry is that after you close a buyer, you pray that they never come back to you for customer service. And we want to make sure that our builders are delivering 100% of what they said they would. Not only at the time of closing, but things take place when you've assembled all these parts that we spoke about earlier. And as a direct result, we want to ensure that we, as salespeople, take it upon ourselves to marshal the customer service program. One of the few companies that do that. And why? Because we want to be able to sell more buyers homes in that same community or elsewhere as we move on to other neighborhoods, creating other neighborhoods. So the direct buyer is there that you just sold. So after a builder has closed a home, the likelihood that they speak to that buyer 2-3 months later, other than if there's an extended warranty that's where they're responsible, they may follow up once or twice, but they'll never call the buyer to ask the buyer how they're doing with their home because they're afraid of opening up Pandora's box. We, on the other hand, are very, very keen on customer service within our own company, as well as the builders we represent. And we want to ensure that those buyers are satisfied. And we begin asking for referrals, of course, in the first meeting that we have, but all the way through the construction process and thereafter. We never, ever stop talking to those customers of ours.
I think it was on a previous call you and I had, Robert, you were talking about a builder that you knew. I think basically he was there every single day for a month after the deal closed, almost moved into the house to make sure that if a nail popped out or something, he was there to address it. I guess that's kind of an exaggeration, but the point is he never let that home out of his sight because he wanted to make sure that that expectation, closing and beyond, was as exciting as when they first decided to buy the home.
Yeah, Steve Cohen of Cohen Custom Homes was not a builder that built 10, 20, 30 homes a year. He was more of a builder who was a perfectionist and just a very, very wonderful gentleman. But like you said, he wanted to ensure that the buyer experience was excellent. And he realized very early in his career that if you didn't take care of a customer service issue, it would blossom into a major catastrophic situation. So he took a positive disposition and realized that, yes, like every builder, he had a walkthrough to review the infractions that were still in the home that needed to be repaired or taken care of prior to the closing of the home. Yet he also had a separate orientation meeting on how to work all of the apparatus within the home. And he made it almost a written agreement with the buyers that everyone had to stop what they were doing and they had to focus on the individual home. Whether it was a husband who was a high-powered executive who was always on the phone, he said that he learned that you just couldn't depend upon one party, one significant other, to handle an understanding of the home. And he also wanted the children to be present because they understood how to work the apparatus much better than the parents, especially with remote controls and computer integration. And we're always a step or two ahead of the competition when it comes to smart technology integrating into the home, along with universal design and health and wellness, energy and water conservation and design trends. And by staying abreast, there's a lot of information that our builders bring to the table that the buyers never had integrated into their previous home. So as a direct result, the more that we could educate them prior to taking over the home, it made a huge difference with the reduction in customer service calls thereafter. But what Steve did, to your point, he didn't even have to bring a mug with him of coffee. The coffee was waiting for him at 8 o'clock every morning because he was there 7 days a week to answer any questions that might have arisen and to create solutions. And a lot of people were very circumspect with us having Steve working in our communities. Yet at the same time, it was an absolute blessing because we as salespeople and the developer We never, ever, 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 ever had a customer service issue that came up with Steve that wasn't handled immediately and perfectly.
This comes back again, Robert. It's almost like the underlying theme here is they will always remember how you made them feel. And if there was one takeaway from this conversation, be it the relationships, customer service, engaging to build your sphere of influence, it just comes back to that one point. They may not remember what you said. They'll always remember how you made them feel. That should be your marching orders in every relationship, in every business relationship, whatever it is. Remember that's what they're going to remember. How many times can I use that word in a sentence? They're going to remember how you made them feel.
Yeah, I think, that growing up in a family business, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience for me. We were in the wine and spirits industry. Our family business, we're vintners, distillers of spirits. My father was third generation and taught me over and over and over. We have a lot of competition. It is about the experience. And what always fascinated me, and I didn't understand this until many years later, what set us apart were the products were always true to the formula. And so we didn't have to worry about the product itself. The other redeeming feature was the presentation. It just wasn't most of the product that was delivered, of course, might have been in standard bottles, but we also had decanters and we had other bottles that were extremely well designed. And when that bottle was placed on a table in a home or in a business, it rang out with superiority. The other thing that was always interesting to me is that the packaging, the labels were very expensive labels. And yet, even today, when I look at product on the shelves and I see they're just basic, maybe the graphics are nice, but they're not embossed. They're not raised lettering. They're not thicker paper, and it's that experience that you're selling. And in the wine and spirits industry, or in the teddy bear industry, or the new home industry, or any industry, it is learning how to project and sell the experience. And you do that with outstanding salespeople, and you pay attention to the salespeople about what the customer needs. It's not always about what the customer wants. First, you have to establish and deliver the needs. After you've delivered the needs and met the customer's needs, then you can start introducing the wants. I would share this again with the audience. Please take care of the needs first. The wants will take care of themselves afterwards. Sell what the customer needs first. Don't mix up needs and wants right away, because if you do, you can lose the customer very, very easily. Stay focused.
That whole idea about the packaging, I mean, that's Steve Jobs 101. He created a multi-billion-dollar industry on the packaging. And there was a tactile feel, and almost every product that you opened was like Christmas morning. It had that feel, had the anticipation. So, and to your point about selling the needs versus the wants, I would say most customers don't know what they want until you tell them what they need.
Well, I think that the point there is that in working with custom builders and semi-custom builders and remodelers and also production builders, oftentimes we get into a niche of where our comfort level is as a builder. And so as a direct result, we know what we can deliver, what we can change. The other thing that I haven't shared in our conversation, we surround ourselves with excellent architects, engineers, landscape architects, and landscapers, because we know that the more money that we spend up front creating the best package gives us the ability to deliver the best product. And while we're doing that, working with these credible professionals then also leads us to the manufacturers, the vendors, the trades, the service companies, and learning from all of them. And it's putting the experience together based on research that we've been able to conduct, determining what do the populace want within a particular community that we're getting ready to deliver. And we never stop doing our research. Most builders do one research program for a community, even if it's a master plan community. And we continue to upgrade the research every 3 months with the research companies that we work with. And why? Because a marketing campaign, a 5-year marketing campaign, is nothing more than a 3-month campaign. If you're not paying attention to the buyers will let you keep your product. And it's another takeaway for today. You have to deliver what the customers need and eventually what they want.
I think we're going to have a part two to this, Robert, and do a deeper dive into the marketing side. I just had this epiphany. What would be really fun is setting a series of questions very specific. I'm in Denver. Here's what the market is right now. I'm a desperate home builder and I've got to move product. Give me 5 things that I need to do. And I don't want to do that now, but I think that would be a great segue for part two. But before we move on, I'd like to touch on the National Association of Home Builders because you spent basically a lifetime building that up. And as I was teasing you at the beginning, you brought in 5,000 new members all by yourself. So can you give us a bit of a, I don't want to say sales pitch, but why should builders and trades be a member of the association? What's the benefit to them?
Well, for builders, it's primarily advocacy and affairs. For example, in metropolitan Denver, we have 34 jurisdictions. And as an individual, you can try to fight City Hall all day long. As one company, you can go in there and think that, you're going to rule the roost, and it won't happen. But when you go in with an amalgamation of a trade association and its membership, so again, we'll call it 500 members. Last year, our builders in metropolitan Denver closed $6 billion worth of residential real estate and some commercial as well. Are you going to pay attention as a jurisdiction to a company or to a group of companies that are closing $6 billion? Or are you going to pay attention to one company that just had 17,538,000 in closings? The answer to the question is you're going to work with that company or that group that's doing $6 billion. And that's just the membership of the Home Builders Association of Metro Denver. The National Association of Home Builders has 700 locals, 50 state associations, 40,000 companies, and well over 10 million employees within these 140,000 companies. Our association is the voice of the construction industry. Are there other trade associations? You bet that support the industry. Without question, a lot of wonderful trade associations. But I found for our particular needs, the National Association of Home Builders, being the biggest, also has the most departments and has the ability to support all of the members with their needs at the local, the state, the national, and the global level. It's a 4-in-1 membership, local, state, national, and global. So you've got a trade association working for you as a builder, as a developer. And to me, it's critically important because the other opportunity, as we shared, yes, government affairs is really helpful for the builders and the associate members of the trade, service companies, manufacturers, vendors, etc. They're there because of networking and education. Those are their primary 2 pillars. There's also other benefits that can inure to the builders and the associate members in the form of savings, benefit savings, and as a direct result, there's approximately 25 companies where we have affinity programs. And those affinity programs are not just for the builder or the associate member, but all of their related employees. So using these benefits, it's like giving the employees a raise, a financial benefit to inure, for them personally and their families. So you've got an overall trade association that works for you 24/7 and again does a phenomenal job with the administration and the related political structures to enhance the growth of the industry.
The one point that you made there about relationships, you can't undervalue the opportunities that you have. Again, going back to the beginning of our conversation here, you talked about the importance of surrounding yourself with people that are better than you, that know more. And I mean that in a humble way. It's not ego. It's just, why wouldn't I take advantage of surrounding myself with people that are going to help me better myself? And I would think being a part of a national association gives you access to these people that as a builder, maybe I'm doing 50 a year and I'm trying to make that quantum leap in my mind, quantum leap to 100. They're already doing 400, 500. How did they get there? And just to be able to be in the same room with these people, I would think the DNA almost rubs off on your shoulder when you pass by them or pick up a coffee cup. And that's a tremendous opportunity that a national association would have to offer.
The other thing is that the education department is fantastic, constantly creating new courses and curricula for the participants. Additionally, we have a program called a 20 Club where 20 builders get together from 20 different markets and they're the same size. So if it's a builder doing 20 projects a year, be it remodeling, new construction, etc. It gives them an opportunity to sit down from someone that, whether it be in Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, in non-competitive markets. And it gives them the ability to learn from these other builders and remodelers and developers. We also have a program called NAHB Connect, which is an idea exchange program. And any question you have will be answered by a myriad of professionals. And what's really great about it is that there's an archive. So you can look back over the last 4 years when it was established and really get a sense of what contributions people have made to that particular thread. And there's no additional charge for the NAHB Connect. There is for the 20 Club, because they host separate meetings and use staff and bring in speakers to help them on usually 3 times a year. But for the most part, you find that when you learn about the industry and you keep learning, then you can literally make more profit, create more cash flow. The business is not a business of profit, Michael. It's a business of cash flow. And it's a very intense capital intense business, labor intense business. And as a direct result, at the end of the day, it's how much cash you have, how much liquidity you have at the end of the day. And NAHB has a tremendous staff and an absolutely phenomenal group of volunteers who are willing to share information like we are today. And I'm looking forward to introducing you to a number of builders throughout the United States and North America that can be a direct benefit to the listeners that you have through your quintessential podcast.
I'm going to hold you that, my friend. I'm going to use a hokey cliche here. The landing gear has been deployed and I've got the runway in sight as we're making our approach over Denver. Anything that we didn't cover that you would like to add before the wheels hit the tarmac?
I would just say to the audience, never settle. I have a very wonderful business associate who has a saying, and I looked it up and it's anonymous, but Terry Vitale, who is an outstanding publisher of periodicals, once said, reach for the moon, for the least that can happen is that you'll fall amongst the stars.
Wise words, wise words.
So actuate, keep moving forward, creating that experience that Michael addressed earlier today, audience. Develop the best buying experience that you possibly can, and you'll continue to succeed and scale your business to greater heights.
Yeah, as always, my friend, it's a pleasure. I've got a question for you, completely off topic here, not related to building. And this obviously won't happen for many decades, I hope, but you're at St. Peter's Gate. St. Peter's there with his iPad. He's scrolling through, and here's your story. He's going through it with you. He's saying, Robert, come on over here. Stand beside me. He's going, you're not going through the gate yet. Let's go through this. And he's scrolling through, and then he looks up at you and says, no, not yet. You haven't finished yet. What's that one big, I haven't tackled it yet, that's still on your agenda?
Business or personal?
Anything you want, my friend.
Yeah, I think that I haven't learned as much as I'd like to learn. I haven't shared as much as I'd like to share. I haven't given as much as I'd like to give. And I'm looking forward to being a better me for myself, for my family, for you, Michael, for the audience, for everybody that I come into contact with.
Beautiful answer, my friend. Thank you for taking time out today. I look forward to part 2.
I look forward to part 3, 4, 5, and 6 as well.
There you
Thank
go.
you. It's been an absolute pleasure, Michael, and I appreciate the opportunity to spend time with you and continue to get to know you. You're a remarkable individual. You make everyone in every meeting that we've been involved with just so comfortable and relaxed and have the ability to start giving and sharing and create wonderful insights. So I thank you for your initial friendship, and I look forward to growing our friendship into a meaningful relationship for years to come. Thank you so much.
I accept the challenge, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Builder Straight Talk. Make sure to like, comment, and share this episode on your favorite social media platform. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, available wherever you get your podcast streaming fix. Until next time, keep building smarter. This episode is made possible by our sponsor, Sound Capital, funding built for builders.